Okay, welcome back, y'all. We're working on this fantasy door that I've carved out. I want to do a short video on how we finish all of these different components. There's 3 of them, and then I'm going to show you how we finish it, how we connect it all together, put it together, and then paint. So I'm going to start with how we connect these two. But first I want to talk to you about how I finish. I don't know if you can notice it, but it looks a lot smoother than it did the last time we did a video. And this one I do, when I finish a carving, I like to go back with these bristle pads. You can buy these bristle pads for a couple of bucks. They're just kind of like Scotch-Brite pads. And I put them, as you can see, there's a screw right in the top of it. It comes on a 1/8, this is a 1/8 mandrel, fits into my rotary, my Dremel. I have a couple of those. And this is what I use to smooth it out. And so what it does is it takes some of the high points out, it takes some of the little chips out, the fuzzies down in there, it smooths a little bit, but it doesn't sand it. It's more of a burnishing rather than sanding. So you can, I don't know if you can see how close that is, but it really cleaned up down in the corners and really made a difference on that. It will take off the marks that you put on there. So if you need a guide, you can go back in there, but it doesn't clean up everything. I don't know if you can see these little fuzzies down in here. So you may have to go back in with a V-tool or something just to clean that up. Maybe a brush that would do it too. And in tight corners, it doesn't do it very well. You have to kind of just carve as well as you can, and you can mount these things, and I do 3 because that way it covers a wide swath of what I'm trying to do, but you could do 2, you could even do 1, although by the time you get down to 1, the screw has a tendency to spin a lot, so you'd need a washer there, which means you can't really get down to the ends of it, because that washer, if it's sticking out past the end of the screw, then it might scar your carving. I had this little guy as well. I was working on this little gnome, and I really hated this piece of wood. It was a piece of scrap that I picked up out of my scrap box. I thought that's about the right size. I'll go ahead and do it, and it kept breaking off, and it kept splitting, and it kept being hard in one area and soft in another. So I went and got another one, and I carved one that looks a little better. And you know, this went so well with this guy that I'm going to do a video here in the next couple of days on how to carve this one. And maybe we'll, I don't know, I say maybe we'll do this, but who knows. Anyway, I'm going to show you how to carve this one. It is a relatively small piece of wood, so for those of you that don't like small pieces of wood, you might have a hard time hanging on to it, but as you can see, it's a little over 3 inches, so we're talking 3 1/4. We're looking at a width of about 1 1/4 inches, maybe 1 1/8 inches, but you use 1 1/4 inches and then carve it down. And then we're looking at a width of about another 1 1/4 inches. So 1 1/4 inches by 1 1/4 inches by 3 1/4 inches. And that gives you exactly what you want. And what I want on this one, I just want shoes that are, you know, make them as fancy as you want. It's up to you. I just got arms sticking in a pocket, and I've done those on a lot of carvings over the past, and you probably have too. I did a flat plain eye where I did a triangle. There is a inside cut right here. It's an inside cut going down here, and then I bring this other cut up to that corner, and then I just trim it out. I take a little bit off of this corner, a little bit off this corner, and I'm not done with that part of it. But anyway, that's how I'd finish this guy. One cut up in the middle, or in the inside of the eye socket, one cut to the outside. Feel free to add all kinds of marks out here to give him crow's feet or laugh lines. Feel free to give him a bag down here. Put in nostrils. Don't put in nostrils. It's entirely up to you. But we just want him to look somewhat like a having a hard time coming up with my words today. Some kind of little gnome. Not very big, because against this door, you know, if you put him right at the bottom of the door, he ain't going to stand up. You don't want him. You don't want his head being way out here. He's got a duck to go into the door. All right. Connecting the base to the door is relatively simple. I do 2 things. I glue it. I'm going to do some glue, just some regular Elmer's Carpenter's wood glue, and then I'm going to put a little glue in there and then screw it. I'm just using simple wood screws, and I drill the hole all the way through from the bottom into the door, and then I come in and I countersink it. I have this countersink bit which will make the hole deeper on the outside and allow the screw head to sit underneath the wood. I don't want it flush. I want it to go underneath the wood. And so whether you clamp it or whatever, I would just make sure my pieces line up, and I can't just go in this way because there's not enough room. Maybe I could, but it's going to make it crooked. So if I try to screw down there, you can't really see that very well. But in order to get down there, I have to tilt my drill up a little bit, and that makes that angle. It makes it go down here. So I would flip this up and do it. Most likely, what I do is I clamp it. Let me pull a clamp over here real quick. So I would just clamp it with a simple clamp. Nothing real fancy. These clamps work really well. And I just want to, come on, can you see me working that? Getting that clamp down there. I want to position it right. Come on. And I'm just going to clamp it like that. That'll allow me to make sure that my ends match. Oh, I'm going to show that. My ends match over here. I want this door to be flush over here and this door frame to be flush over here. It's flush down there. And so I would just take a screw, smaller screw bit, about the size of that screw, and I can just measure them, whatever's going to work. I want them to have some purchase on this end, and I want them to have purchase on that end. So I'm going to just drill 2 holes. If you don't like the sound, cover up the noise. But I'm just going to drill 2 holes. My drill bits probably need sharpening as well. You also want to make sure that when you drill holes in here, they don't come out over here. They go into the door frame itself rather than into the door, because there's not a lot of wood left there. What I'm then going to do is switch bits, and I'm going to use my countersink bit. Countersink bit, as I said, allows me to countersink those drill bit holes and allow the screw to go underneath. So I'm just going to use a countersink bit. It's basswood, so it's easy to drill. And I would start the screw in there, and I have a drill bit laying over here and a screwdriver. I just want to make sure that it's going to go all the way in as far as I want it to go and be flush beneath the piece of wood. I didn't drill deep enough, so it's getting real hard to push that screw through there, but we can muscle it through, provided I can keep the bit in the hole. Hopefully you can see that as I drill that screw in there, it sits below that level. So I don't have a screw head sticking out. And this allows me to do it on the other side as well. Not sure, there we go. Started to say I'm not sure where my screw went, but ordinarily I don't do this by hand. I got a drill bit laying over here. I don't know why I don't just pick it up and swap it like this. Put the screw bit in there. That was a whole lot easier, wasn't it? Anyway, I've got those two and they're countersunk. And so that's great. I'm going to back them out, take them off, because I want glue in there when I do this joint. Not that glue is going to make it that much stronger, but it does make it slightly stronger, so that if for any reason you have that screwed in there and it drops and hits the floor, if it's glued, rather than just screwed in at these two contact points, if it's glued, that's a stronger connection across a wider area. This is just one little small cross section and one little one here. The glue goes all the way through here, So I would hope that it would be a little bit stronger. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about in this video is what kind of a doorknob I want to put on that. And so I have a bag of goodies, a box of goodies that I took out, and I have it laying over here, and I've got all kinds of things in there, because you just never know when you're going to find a use for something. I'm using a smaller eye hook. These eye hooks are what I use in my ornaments. That holds the tag, the string or the wire for the ornament. I'm using a small one of those, and I'm using a large one of those as well. And this one's gold, brass I think is what it is. So I'm using the small silver one, and I'm using this, and I've went ahead and cut the screw threads off, of it. And I separated it just a little bit, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this piece, this smaller one here, into the wood, and then I'm going to put this in there as a ringer for the door. And when I put that in, that's going to allow me to offer a ring as a doorknob. And so rather than trying to fiddle with dowels and make a whole bunch of drilling noises, I want to just make one noise, figure out where I want it to be. Where do I want that doorknob? About halfway up the door, so somewhere about right here. Maybe you can't see that, but I want that about right there. And I'm going to drill this smaller one. I want to put the smaller silver one right there, and I want to make sure that it's not going to come out. As you can see, the wood in there is just about the length of that screw. So I can't push it through, it'll come out the other end. So one of the things I'm going to do, because I'm going to screw it in, I'm going to make the hole fairly deep, I'm going to just cut off the ends of that. So this will allow me to get that down to the surface, and I'm still down below that edge. I won't come out. Okay, so the drill bit on there is a smaller size than what I was using, so let's swap it out. Pardon me, I want to put a little more light on the subject. So I'm going to figure out which one this goes in and go up one size bigger. Put that in my drill bit. And I'm just going to go straight down. Not sure you can see that, but I'm straight down into that hole. Because I made it bigger than the wood, the apparatus itself, I can put that in there. And that looks just about perfect. It's just about the right depth that I want. And so then what I would do is take the other piece, and I'm going to pull that out. I'm going to put that in there, put those two together, and then I want to take a pair of pliers and just close them together. If you really want to make sure this is secure, you could glue that connection where they come together, solder it whichever way you want to do it. But I think by the time we put that in there, only you and I will know. Maybe you could solder some flux right in that opening, or epoxy or whatever you want to do. But it looks like, let me show you what that looks like. Might have to make that the door insert a little bit deeper, but that looks like it's a doorknob, a door ring that you can pull, door pull rather. Alright, I don't want to do that until I'm done painting, because I'm going to glue this in, and sometimes glue has a tendency to not be able to take paint very well. So if you've ever tried to paint over glue, you know how hard sometimes it is to make that glue take. Get an idea from there what I want to do. For the door hinges over here, I'm just going to color those. I'm going to paint those. This is a beginner project rather than an intermediate. I'm just going to paint those. But I would put that all together. After I've done my it's not sanding, after I've done my burnishing with my whizzer wheel, as I call it, this thing is going to look like this. And I think I like the way it turned out. If you do too, I'd love to see you do one of these projects. Next video, and we'll do that one. I think I'll get that done this afternoon. We've got contractors delivering stuff and contractors coming in and out, and we've got to go down to the glass place, and I don't know how we're going to fit it all in a video, but I'm going to do my best, and we'll get this done and move on to the next project. So stay tuned for the painting part. We'll turn that on in just a few minutes.